On this episode of the Insight with Irv show, we sit down with Karlton Dennis, who's also known as the Tax Alchemist, where he helps people save millions in taxes from the strategies, the game plans, and the methods that he uses to help people legally lower and avoid paying taxes. And yes, I included the word legally in there because this is something that you can implement just by listening to this episode. Get ready to get some insight from Karlton Dennis on today's episode of the Insight with Irv show. All right, what's going on? Welcome back to the Insight with Irv show. So on today's episode, we have a tax expert. He is an enrolled agent. His name is Karlton Dennis. You guys have probably seen some of his work over on YouTube, hundreds of thousands of views. Some of the value that this guy provides, where we were just talking even before we hit the record button, is some people, they've actually lived it, and some people make content because they know that it gets the clicks. Well, the thing with him is that he's been able to do both. So he's been an enrolled agent, which he's going to get into here in just a second, for a couple of years. His experience with not just helping people file their taxes, but also just being a tax strategist and just finding legal loopholes that's saving his clients tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Irvin, thank you so much for having me. That was probably one of the warmest introductions I've ever had on anyone's show. So I just want to start off by saying thank you. I'm excited to be here. Excited to share some value with your audience.
Good deal, good deal. So tell us a little bit of background, maybe 2-minute, 3-minute background. Where you're from, how long you've been practicing. So, audience always likes to know a little bit of credibility. They're not just Googling this stuff and then hopping on the show. And just a little bit about your work and what you do.
Yeah. Background is I am a California boy, born and raised in Orange County, went to an all-boys Catholic high school, got the opportunity to play football in college, and thought I was going to be the world's next best corner. Turns out life hit me very quickly. I realized I can't play sports forever. Graduated, got into the job role, got my first career in sales, realized I am really good at talking and communicating, joined my mother's company. She owned a tax and accounting company at the time with only 15 employees, decided to implement a sales department, realized that tax planning was so much more important than just filing tax returns, created an entire sales process around it, got my enrolled agent's license. Fast forward to today, I'm a licensed enrolled agent. I work with over 2,000 clients. I'm a real estate investor myself and have quite a big audience where I coach and educate people on how to leverage the tax codes to become financially free. And it's very fun.
Oh, I absolutely love that. So I always say that there's a special type of breed of a person. They really have to enjoy what they do to say, I enjoy talking about taxes for a living.
That's true. And it's because taxes isn't sexy. When you bring up taxes, typically people equate taxes with debt, two things that are inevitable. And most people are unfamiliar with taxes. So if you try to have a conversation with them about it, you're going to lose their attention span very quickly. So one of the things I think you and I have mastered, Irv, is being able to communicate around a subject that isn't sexy and making it sexy for the listener's ear.
And it's tough, especially depending on the audience, the demographic, you could lose them right away. Or if you possibly don't mention maybe their favorite point in a 60-second clip, it kind of just throws everything into a whirlwind, which is why, you've really kind of taken the approach of you don't just create content, but you actually have one-on-ones with some of your clients. What does that look like?
Yeah. So when it comes to creating content, I try to create content by bringing up examples from different experiences that I've had with clients. So being the fact that I started out in sales in my mother's company, I was meeting with so many business owners and so many real estate investors who had so many questions. Karlton, how do I set up my LLC? Do I even set up an LLC? Should it be a corporation? How do I write off my kids? How do I write off my dog? So when you get asked all of these different questions, you want to have an answer for them. And you want to also be able to show people how they can leverage certain things that maybe their CPA isn't teaching them. So I create my content around examples and showing you how maybe your CPA hasn't taught you this strategy, but this is how it's being done in my office.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And so just if I'm listening right now, because you mentioned CPA and you mentioned licensed enrolled agent, for someone listening, what's the difference?
Yeah. So
I possibly get that a lot.
I get it all the time. I get asked if I'm a CPA because the CPA is what most people are really familiar with, your certified public accountant. When you look underneath the hood of what a CPA is, a certified public accountant is going to school to learn how to do accounting and bookkeeping, because when they file tax returns, they need to account for every single item that goes in every single tax return. And they're really good at being accurate. Whereas an enrolled agent, we study a lot of tax law. The enrolled agent holds the highest designation that the IRS allows. Most enrolled agents become tax strategists like myself because of our knowledge around the law. We will consult with business owners between the months of January through December when they're making financial decisions on how they can leverage the tax laws to reduce their tax bill. So when they go into their CPA's office between January through April, they are truly doing what the CPA is really good at: compliance, filing the tax return and accounting for everything that needs to go inside of the tax return.
So if you're listening to this, you can pretty much, kind of just to summarize what you said there, you can pretty much do just as much of what a CPA would do, but without, obviously, because I think a lot of people get that misconstrued of, oh, well, are you a CPA or are you a CPA? But I think it goes back down to just maybe the audience or the consumer not having the proper education of what that difference actually looks like.
You're absolutely correct. The CPA and the enrolled agent share that same designation of being able to prepare tax returns. The enrolled agent is licensed in all 50 states, and just like the CPA, the enrolled agent can represent you in front of the IRS.
A lot of our listeners right now, they just started businesses. I think there was a record high for the amount of applications that we had for new businesses being formed in 2020, just because we were obviously coming off of, the pandemic, right? Everyone was at home, had a little bit more time on their hands, trying to come up with some more income. A question that we get asked quite a bit, and I'm sure you get this as well, you've been probably getting hammered with this question, is when starting out a business, first of all, do I need an LLC? And if so, what does that process look like?
Yeah. So most new business owners want to make sure that they're actually operating their business in the right way. So when you go about starting a new business, you're going to have questions. One of the questions is, do I need to set up a bank account for this new business? How am I going to pay myself for this new business? How do I protect myself if someone decides to sue me? And this is when we start to invite in the whole LLC conversation. Most new business owners will research what it looks like to become a new business owner, and they will run into various different companies like a LegalZoom that is going to set up an LLC for you. An LLC is how you can separate the liability from yourself and your business, and it's important for you to consider early on, depending on what type of business owner you are. I have certain business owners who are chiropractors, doctors, and dentists, so they're taking on a lot of liability early on by the nature of their business. But then again, I have certain clients that are only maybe starting a t-shirt business, or they're going to be doing truck driving. So they may not have tons of liability early on. So when you're a new business owner, typically you start out as a sole proprietor. And then when it becomes time for you to really establish some liability protection, you can go ahead and set yourself up an LLC, which provides you with an EIN number. And that's the EIN number that you take to your bank account to open up your business banking, and where you will also run all your business transactions out of.
Now, I just want to thank our good friends over at Amazon's Audible, who are the sponsors of this video. If you want to get your hands on a free month, as well as enjoy a free book of your choice that you can have read to you, as well as enjoy different series across different catalogs, you can do so by hitting the link down in the description. Enjoy.
When it comes to having that business set up, would you advise to go with the LLC first, or possibly maybe an S Corp first?
Yes. So when it comes to establishing entity structures, should you go LLC or should you go with an S Corp right out the gate? When you're talking to different tax professionals, they may encourage you to set up an LLC first and then to wait to set up an S corporation. And part of the reason why most tax professionals might recommend this is because they want to make sure that the benefits outweigh the costs for you to be in the S Corp vehicle. When you decide to transition from an LLC to an S Corp, you're doing a very important thing. You are now becoming a corporation, but you also get to tax yourself as a W-2 employee underneath your own business. Now, in order for us to get to a place where it makes sense to run payroll, your business needs to have enough business income, and not just gross income. It needs to have enough net income, which means after all expenses. Now, if you're just starting out a new business, it might be hard to tell how much money your business is going to make net right away. And if you're not sure, sometimes you can establish an LLC at first and wait to tax your LLC as an S corporation later, prior to the end of the year.
That's smart, because I see a lot of people kind of trying to put the cart before the horse and say, oh, let me just ride right into an S corp. But then sometimes, kind of like, well, you just mentioned something key where, dude, you haven't even earned a right yet, which is kind of what it feels like, because there's not enough income actually coming in. Kind of like, I talk a lot about credit on my channel as well, where people want these heavy lines of credit. You're barely reporting $10,000 worth of a bottom line number. So when they go to underwrite you, it doesn't show any proof of anything. So how can we actually give you these $100,000 credit limits if you only have $10,000? When you're looking at, let's say, someone's situation and they're, let's say, wanting your advice, what are maybe some key things that you really like to look at, or maybe some questions when you're getting to know an entrepreneur or maybe a business owner?
Yeah. One of the things that entrepreneurs really like is something I've come to like myself, is I like instant gratification. And most entrepreneurs, when they get on the phone with a tax advisor, they want to get a question answered right away so they can get instant gratification. What's something I can write off immediately? What's something I can do right now to help reduce my tax bill? And they want that answer right away. But when you're talking to a tax professional, especially a tax strategist like myself, we understand that answers don't just come from a shotgun. They come from a sniper. And if you know a sniper, snipers do not miss. They're exact. And that is exactly how tax strategists are. In order for us to get exact tax savings for you and to know exactly which strategy makes the best sense, we have to take a series of questions into consideration. Typically starting off with your personal goals. It's important for us to know if you're married, if you're single, if you have personal debt that we need to focus on getting paid off, if you like the state that you're living in, if you want to move to a different state. Maybe you have family members that are getting old that I need to know about, and you could have an estate coming to you. These are things that may not typically come up in a consultation, but I bring them up because it could have an impact on your taxes as an overall picture. Then I'll go into your business goals. Does it make sense for you to be a sole proprietor versus an LLC versus a C Corp versus an S Corp? Do you want to get a business evaluation? Do you like working from home? Do you want to go into an office setting? These are the goals that we need to kind of get out of the way, because it could formulate some strategies that could help you immediately versus strategies that end up showing up on your actual tax return. I'm a real estate tax strategist too. So I'm going to sit down and ask you if you own any investment properties, if you're aware of the advantages around depreciation, and if you are interested in getting into some real estate outside of just having a business. Last but not least would be your retirement goals. Most self-employed individuals know that when they become self-employed, that they're in charge of their own retirement planning. But many of them don't know about all the various different retirement vehicles there are. Self-directed solo 401ks, IRAs, cash balance plans, all of those sound great. Which one would make the best sense for you, right? So it's important for us to take it slow, ask the right questions so we can get to the right strategies for that particular client.
Notice how the conversation that you're having is you're always going 3, 4, even 5 questions deep, where it's not just getting someone's taxes done, they're in and they're out. You're actually setting someone up, not just for this year, but for the next couple of years, which is what tax planning and what a tax strategist does.
Yeah, tax strategists work like doctors. When you go into a doctor's office, what happens, right? They typically want to sit you down. They want to look at your medical history. Well, a tax strategist, rather than looking at your medical history, they're going to look at your tax history. They're going to look at your previous 3 years of tax returns, because a tax strategist knows that the IRS gives you up to 3 years to amend your tax returns. So if I can look at your tax returns for 2020, 19, and 18, I can see that you have areas of opportunity that were missed. I might want to do a cost benefit analysis to see if any of my changes would outweigh the cost of us refiling the tax returns. Not to mention, I just want to make sure that I'm asking the right questions, because I don't want to get into a place where I recommend a strategy to you right now in 2021, but then come in 2022 when you're trying to qualify for a loan, you don't have enough income on your tax returns because I wrote everything off for you. So it's very important that we ask the right questions.
Oh, it's super important. It all comes back down to having that due diligence, because if you, let's say, screw up this year, you can always come back, like you mentioned, and amend it, but you want to make sure that you're kind of covering those gaps up as you're moving, because it's going to make the investing side a lot smoother on the back end. And when it comes to investing, you also mentioned that you are into real estate investing. Is that more of a buy and hold approach? Would you recommend possibly fixing and flipping? Like, what are your clients mainly focused on right now that you kind of walk them through?
Yeah. So a lot of the clients that do tax planning with me are more of the buy and hold investors, or they're doing fix and flip businesses, and they may have a small portfolio of rental properties that they held on to. Part of the reason why the buy and hold method is advantageous for a tax strategist is because the government wants to see you paying property taxes on a yearly basis. And the more you pay into property taxes, the more I get to leverage depreciation for you. So if you hold on to those rental properties, I can accelerate depreciation to offset some of the rental income that you might have on your investment property. But if you go with a different real estate investing method, such as fix and flip, then you're truly running a business, not a passive business. So now I have to come up with yearly ongoing tax strategies to help you offset that income. Whereas a real estate investor, we can always bank on depreciation.
Oh, 100%. I think I was reading, where was that? Tax Free Wealth. I think his name is Tom Wheelwright. Fantastic book. And he runs a scenario. And you probably caught this early on. So he runs a scenario of, let's say, if you make a profit or a loss on let's say, on a stock versus a profit and loss over on a piece of real estate, from cost segregation, everything that you're able to do in between, and just the way that you're legally able to drive down your taxes on real estate versus just having a couple of options in stocks, it's just mind-boggling to me.
Yes, and people always try to fight on whether or not stocks are better or real estate is better, Karlton, but I can go put my money in stocks and get a 12% ROI. Yeah, but you can't take a cash out refinance in the stock market, right? You can lend against your portfolio, but you can't do a cash out refinance. You don't get the same level of appreciation plus the depreciation that you get with real estate. And that is part of the reason why I feel like the government always gives more tax incentives to real estate investors, is because you're buying such a large asset.
Yeah, and like you just finished mentioning, just some of the things that you're able to do with that asset, whether it's a cash out refi, or if you're just running that cost segregation, or maybe if you're just putting some tenants in there, or maybe if you really wanted to get a bit spicier with it, maybe you're changing the actual zoning of that, and you're possibly converting that into something else. Whether here in Orlando, at least, you can go for maybe an R1, R2, which is residential 1, residential 2. You can convert some of those into businesses, and I'm sure you have a field day with stuff like that.
I do. I'm all about making sure that we can take every option into consideration. And one of the things you have to realize is people who are talking this game that Irv and I are talking right now, they're not talking this game to us in the months of January, February, March, and April, where most taxpayers are filing their tax returns, because most real estate investors understand it's too late to be talking the game that late in the game. You have to do those conversations right now, in the year that you're earning the income and in the year that you're making financial decisions, because that's when you can have the biggest impact on your bottom line and on your tax liability.
That's true, because when I was actively selling real estate, a lot of clients would come to me around November, December. A lot of people wonder, doesn't the market get slow? For me, it didn't. And the reason for that is because you have a lot of investors that now are looking at some of their budgets, and they're saying, okay, dude, I'm not looking to pay off all of these taxes. So what are some investment properties that I can pick up right now to kind of offset that? And more often than not, it was real estate. It wasn't a stock conversation with some of these clients. And so with that in mind, I know that you have you have a course coming out, right? You have some products coming out. What is that looking like?
Yeah. So one of the items that I teach that's specific to the real estate realm is the real estate professional status, which allows for real estate investors to utilize their passive losses to offset active income, such as W-2 income, Bitcoin income, stock income. Who wouldn't want to be in a place where you can utilize 100% of your losses to offset 100% of your income? You can become tax-free. So that's what my course is about. It's called Tax Alchemy. That's the name of my company. It's my brand. I'm the Tax Alchemist. And this course is truly designated for business owners who want to get into real estate, or pre-existing landlords who want to leverage real estate to become 100% tax-free. So that'll be coming out in the next 2 weeks. I'm extremely excited about it. And you guys can check back in on my channel at Karlton Dennis.
Did you mention it? If there was, because you kind of cut off there, is there a date for its release, or?
Oh, sorry about that. This release date will be July 22nd, 2021. So by the time you guys get to listening to this, hopefully it'll be out by then.
Yeah. And we'll go ahead and drop the links down on the bottom and everything. Like I said, because I want to drive some traffic back your way. You have the YouTube channel, which you pretty much just started posting, and I've really started seeing you go heavy. I think you're almost at 100,000. You're going to be getting one of those pretty soon right there, the 100K plaque. You're going to be getting one of those really soon. What's your main focus with that channel? Kind of stepping away from, the tax professional to kind of the influencer. What's that looking like for you?
Yeah. With the YouTube channel, I started the YouTube channel for one thing, which is to give people a roadmap on how they can leverage being a business owner, and a roadmap on how they can leverage their real estate investments. That's truly what it was. I wanted people to have the simplified version of taxes. Everything to be simplified, digestible, and for it to be correct and right. And so I pour a lot of time in making sure my information I share is very accurate, but I also take a lot of time to make sure that I dumb down my information to the point where a fifth grader could digest the difference between an LLC and an S corp. And so I pride myself on simplicity.
That's important. And like I said, if you guys have never seen any of his content, I try to keep up with some of the IGTVs that you drop, and you do a really good job of making that stuff simple, where I can share even with some of my friends some complex stuff, and it's just actually exciting to watch, which is difficult to say when you come from that background of sometimes talking about finances, whether stocks, real estate. It just gets boring. I mean, let's just be honest here.
Yeah, you know what's funny is like when I was trying to learn tax and accounting, the advisors who were teaching me in my office how to teach me tax and accounting, I had to tell them, I don't get it the way you're teaching me. Simplify it, dumb this down. Let's go X's and O's with this. Put this into a football scenario. If I'm on offense or if I'm on defense and there's 11 players, how can you put it into a scenario so it's just more digestible for me? And as I learned tax and accounting, I was able to do that for other people because I never went to college for tax and accounting, right? But yet I make, millions of dollars selling tax planning. So I wanted to make sure that I was able to simplify it. And I think that's something that I really enjoy doing and where I find the most satisfaction out of my YouTube channel and being on the phone with people is when they actually get it, the light bulb goes on in their head.
Oh, I absolutely love that. And so where can they find you? Somebody says, I want to hire him. I like his content. I'll keep watching his content, but I actually want to hire him. Just to kind of walk me through some things. Where can they find you?
Yeah, guys, if you guys want to get access to a complimentary consultation with me and my team, you can reach out to us. Our company is Karlton Dennis and Associates. You can type that in on Google. If you go on any of my social media platforms, whether it's my Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, or my YouTube, you'll see that there's a link on every single one of my social media platforms that will lead you to my consulting as well as my private coaching. So feel free to check one of those out.
Good deal, brother. And just last question, apart from tax planning, what's next for you?
I think personally what's next for me is getting into a space where I can be more philanthropic. I'm the type of person who has always found joy in helping other people, but sometimes not really needing to benefit myself personally. And so one of the things that I really want to do is I want to start a foundation that helps in world disasters. Something that I've always been passionate about is trying to have a foundation that can be one of the first foot soldiers on the ground during a hurricane or an earthquake or a world disaster like the one that we saw in Haiti. I want to be able to have foundation members that work underneath my foundation that can be boots on the ground and provide assistance during world catastrophes. And so I don't want to just be remembered for my knowledge in tax. I think my skill set extends further than that. And so I want to help other people. So.
Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. You're definitely taking that fulfillment to the next level, man.
I appreciate that. You are too, brother. And this channel is absolutely awesome. I'm so glad I got to be a part of this. I look at it as a privilege, and Irv, everything that you're doing with your channel and how you share your content, people need it. And I'm excited to see what you do because I know that you just started everything that you've been doing for just the last year and a half now. So, man, it's incredible seeing your growth in that short amount of time. I can only imagine what's going to happen over the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, brother, again, I appreciate you jumping on and just dropping some insight here on the Inside with Irv show. If you guys haven't done so already, consider hitting the subscribe button down below. Consider giving us a 5-star review because it does help this content reach a larger audience. I appreciate you guys checking us in. Until next time, everyone, I will see you guys in the next episode.